DuPont. All right, there's a reason why we're looking at 1802 to 2017. So what happened in 2017, before we kind of do a little brief history on DuPont, is they merged with the other well-known company that I put on here, Dow Chemical. And in 2017, I mean, DuPont was already basically the largest chemical company. And then they joined in with another largest chemical company to create the mega largest uh, company, Basic Materials, basically. And they did a spin off to where the reason why you still have, I don't quite understand why they did this. They joined together to break apart. All right. So we'll go through that in just a second. Let's kind of go in the establishment of DuPont, a little history lesson. Very interesting. In 1802, it was a French guy who was what do you call, running away, escaping French, like during the French Revolution, and he came to America. I think Delaware or something like that, and realized that America was behind on explosives like dynamite and gunpowder and everything like that. And so he decided that that was going to be his mark. So over here you can see one of the original powder wagons, and then it also says that, and this is a pretty staggering amount of gunpowder that they produced. They supplying 1/3 to 1/2 of the powder used in the Union Army during the American Civil War. So if you think about that, that is a lot of money they were making and a lot of gunpowder. Now, what happened from 1902? Remember, this is basically 100 years after you know, they were in the business. Is they started to expand into different parts of the United States business world. So this is in 1902 and 1912, dynamite was still huge, right? In you know to build roads to right here, they even came out with a pamphlet, right? A little notebook on how you can use dynamite on your farm. Not cool, really quite sure that would be, copacetic today. People buying a whole bunch of dynamite and blowing things up, but it's the times of the time or the days of the time. And in those times, it was socially acceptable to take a stick of dynamite to get into your tree stumps and blow them up. Uh, this is very interesting. I did not know this. Is they basically owned GM Motors, but then in 57, as it says right here, under the Clayton and first off, this company has been broken up numerous times. So at first, for antitrust. So at first, they got broken up because they control too much of gunpowder. And this is under the Sherman Antitrust Act, right? Then we're looking at what? About 15 years later? Then when they own, no, about 40 years later, because in 57, after they, helping the government do what they need to do, then the government comes back and tells them again that is a antitrust. And so they are forced again to divest their stock in General Motors, right? Very interesting company or part right here is that during our war, right, DuPont ranked 15th among United States corporations in value of wartime production contracts, right? The reason is because they developed nylon in 1935, right? Now, what is so important about nylon is parachutes, powder bags, and tires. They also helped with the Manhattan Project and, in South Carolina, I'm from South Carolina, North Carolina, with the hydrogen bombs. Now, it's also kind of interesting because we've now talked with BASF that kind of had help with the Nazis, and now we're talking over here to where DuPont was estimated 150 American companies have provided Germany with patents, technology, and material resources that provided crucial to the German war effort. Now, let's hopefully saying that they were trying to fight the German or the Nazis and not helping the Nazis because all their stuff was seized. However, they still maintained a lot of close connections with Nazi Germany from 1933 till 43, when we all know Germany kind of went down. Now this company, they've been in cars, they've been in dynamite, they've been in nylon. Now, let's get into, space age right here, and let's go on to oil. Conoco, and if you look under a different section, we were discussing Conoco in the energy section, and it's pretty interesting. They did it just to help out with their plastics, and because again, a lot of people don't understand that oil is in a lot more products than just driving your car, right? It's in basically everything. So they bought Conoco so they could have a direct line. It says secure petroleum feedstocks needed for manufacturing fibers and plastic products. So by buying Conoco, they just decreased their prices on being able to produce their main products, right? And then 99, they sold all the shares, so they no longer were there. So that's a brief history. Now let's go into what happened in 2017. So in 2017, like I said, DuPont and DuPont, and Dow decided to join together, which was a $130 billion deal. And what they did exactly after, or basically when they joined together, they broke apart, and they got Corteva, and then Dow, and then DuPont, all right? And they broke it down into different corporations. I guess they came together to eliminate competition, and then broke apart with separating which company is going to do what, so that they no longer would be competing against each other, and share information, share technology. So it makes sense in the long run. So we look right here, we got the point, which is in nutrition and health, industrial biosciences, safety and protection. So this is for the people. Dow, which is they went materials unit together with Dow Performance Plastics, materials, chemicals, infrastructure, and then here, which is agriscience, which is I'm not sure if they own Miracle Grow, so I'm not gonna say I'm not just think Miracle Grow when you're thinking agriscience. How can you build something, or even think of chickens, right? Because agriscience is a huge business. Is because I was watching a documentary yesterday, and I had no idea that chickens were ready to be eaten 6 weeks after their hatching, which the way that we're able to produce things faster is this huge agricultural business. So when you're only thinking of like agriscience as being like, oh, how can I grow a piece of corn better? It's much more intense than that, and it's much more in depth, because how can we produce chickens faster? How can we? And this is a crazy thing I heard yesterday when I was watching my show, and just sorry, kind of going on a tangent. If the chickens aren't dying of heart attacks, then they're not growing fast enough. Think about that. And that's agriscience. How can you get something to grow faster? Now, let's check out CNBC. What do they say? So, your New York Stock Exchange, DD, Dupont De Nemours. They could have just made it English, and it doesn't have to be French anymore. They've been in America for almost over 200 years. That's just side note. $68, $50 billion corporation. Dividend is really small. 1.75, so you're making 2% of your money. Oh, wow. And this is They were before. When was this? So 2 years ago, it was a $108 company. Then it dropped all the way down to $32. I mean, it's doubled since March, but wow. I mean, if they were paying like with all this money that they've been making and should be making to pay such a small dividend, that's I don't know. Not something I really. I might buy a couple shares just to kind of track it, but other than that, it's really difficult for me to really want to buy something that doesn't too much give you anything. Or let's go back to it. What you could probably do if you want to invest in this company is they probably have corporate bonds somewhere. I mean, it doesn't say anything around here, but or you have to look a little bit further, right? But if they had government or if they had bonds, your coupon rate would probably be higher than this dividend yield. Just saying. We'll have to talk. That's a whole different topic on how to invest in this company because there's different ways you can invest, right? So you can get into the options market, you can get into bonds market, or you can get into the stock market, right? Those are the easiest. Now, within each of these, there's a lot of different strategies you can do, but that's not for this. Let's keep it short. I've already talked too much about Dow, but again, very interesting. It's in literally everything that you touch, right? And $50 billion corporation, but it's only yielding 1.75%. What was Dow yielding? So Dow's at 5%. So if you want to invest in basically the same exact company, I personally would say just because I like dividends a little bit better, at a 5% dividend, that's more attractive to me than a 1% dividend especially now that I know it's literally the same company. It's just three different sections of the company. All right. Not quite sure which will be the next one. So I'm going to do some research and find another great basic material company for you guys to learn about.